stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think we're set. But my point for the Lord of the Rings Lorecast is once we get to lore content, if we can be very very structured with how we like present topic first, chat second.
Yeah,
that works really. Like I've figured out like the formula, I think, for these lore type shows. So even, you know how when we did like the Fallout Hub initially, we were like in the vault and all of that kind of thing. We can even play up a little bit of that as long as we're like very focused on delivery of the information first, and then our personalities kind of come out later in the episode.
Yeah.
I think that's like absolutely the way to nail this type of show.
I think that's great. And better than I do about that. So I think
I've only tested it out in like 5, 6, 7 shows.
Just
now.
a few.
Yeah. A few different lorecasts to figure out which formula works the best.
I feel like that if there's anybody that's like how to make a lore podcast, I feel like that might be
maybe I figured it out by now.
Of like people on the internet. I think you're probably up there in the top 5 at the very least.
Possibly. Here, I'm gonna tweet this out. We're live with the Starfield Lorecast, talking leaks, music, and some cool theories. Come join us.
But I'm cool doing. I'm
gonna take a picture of my face, like. We look great. Okay, wait, one more. I can do better than that. Okay. Perfect. That's great. Oh, I need to tag you. I didn't tag you. Oh crap. Here, I'll retweet it.
I'll just retweet it.
Okay. That's amazing. Hammond, what's up? Leaks? Yeah. There's some leaks that came out like a week ago. But if you haven't heard yet, stay tuned. We're going to talk about it. Heresy papers. That's a good face.
That's a picture.
Yeah,
that's a picture.
All right. Well, we got that down. Welcome to the stream. Oh man, this is going to be exciting.
I'm excited. I'm what people say is hype. Hype for this.
What the kids say? Did you see my new guitar?
I saw. Yeah. I saw it, and I'm jealous. I'm jealous as all get out.
Yeah,
I'm incredibly jealous.
My midlife crisis, I guess.
I mean,
it's been 20 years since I bought myself a guitar, so it's
all over. It's all over the room. They're all on the walls.
Yeah, it was time.
I know, buying a guitar, it's like you want to treat yourself, you know. You always want to treat yourself, but it's also like, will I use it? Like, what am I going to use this for? And you always try to, and in the end, you just gotta treat yourself.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
Well, I started writing music and streaming while I record and write my own music. I got a bunch of like software and got a little MIDI keyboard with some little pads. I've got all sorts of stuff now. I've kind of just gone in the deep end. Yep. It's kind of like that one. Yeah. And
got
so
the big one behind me.
Yeah. I've got the big one. I got an electric drum set in the other room. So I've got like all the components. And so I've been starting to write songs, and I think I'm going to do like songs inspired by Fallout to start with. And
I think that sounds great.
Each song is going to be like Death Claws or the Minutemen or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I'll sit down to write something. Like I've sat down to literally do a shortened version of the theme of this show. Mm-hmm. And the last time I did that, I was like, oh, that's a cool lick. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. And then I wrote like what was essentially like the like song that plays when you're on the like merry-go-round.
Oh,
like when you're riding on a horse. Like it was
definitely went the different direction.
Things just, I sit down to write and I'm like, this is not what I intended to write, but it is also it is a product. I made a product.
I made a thing. All right, let me see. It looks like streams are working. All right, cool. Well, here we go. I'm sure people will pop in, but we'll go ahead and get this going. Just so you know, I want to cover the little thing about like the countdown that the one person posted. We'll start with that.
Yeah, sure.
And
Let's do that.
then we can talk leaks, and then the music. You want to talk music and then leaks?
Yeah, let's do music because that's official, and then the leaks are
Okay.
unofficial. Official.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Chat, welcome. Thanks for being here. Here we go.
Begin transmission. This is the Starfield Lorecast. Roll call. Co-Commander Dave Chavins. Present. Co-Commander Tom, codename Robot. Present. We are calculating our descent into your speaker station. Stand by.
Spacefarers. It is time again for the Starfield Lorecast. It's been a little while. This is your host, Tom, or Robots. I'm here with my good buddy, Dave Chafins of the Internet. Dave, how you doing,
It's
bud?
been a while.
It's been a while, man. We got stuff to talk about.
We do.
I feel like we launched this show so early and we had all those speculation episodes and all of these other things. There's a little bit of speculation going on in this episode, but we definitely have more stuff to talk about. We're gearing up for the big Bethesda meeting, the reveal that maybe we're going to get more stuff on June
the
12th.
grand Bethesda showcase.
The
come
showcase.
one, come all.
Yeah, so that's coming up soon. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. Welcome back. This is still going to be a show about the information that we have, the leaks, the rumors, the news, and all of that. But as we get closer and closer to launch, Dave and I are very excited to delve more into the lore. So make sure that you stick around for after launch. And that's, man, it's just months away at this point. Dave, what are we going to do on June 12th? What do you think we should do for the official showcase?
I've been thinking about this for it when it was announced. I thought for maybe 2 seconds about this, and I decided that we should live stream react to the June 12th showcase, and immediately after record an episode of the Starfield Lorecast because Tom Robots Radio.
I'm not
Xbox
Robots
logo
Radio. Okay,
in the announcement is in space.
It's in space. It would be silly for them to have a big event and then not talk about the game that they're about to launch in a few months, especially when Bethesda has done exactly the same pattern for all of their major releases over like the last decade plus. So I think we're going to get some more information. We're probably going to see some gameplay. We're going to get a bunch of stuff. And the reaction footage is just going to be close-ups of both of our mouths salivating, which makes for great content.
I love a drooly dog, Tom.
We'll bring in some dogs. We'll just surround ourselves with drooly dogs while we all
Oh, yeah.
celebrate. Salivate, celebrate. I just combined those two words. That's weird. So
Celebrate.
anyway, so welcome back, everybody. So let's get into it. We've got some stuff to talk about. First thing I want to talk about before we get to the leaks and the news is a post that was recently shared on Reddit by Fokin Gamesman. It's actually spelled that way, Fokin Gamesman, who did a wonderful calculation here for the number of days since the announcement to launch and a bunch of other data. So I just want to do a little bit of hyping us up and recollection here as we move forward. So this was posted yesterday, and as of yesterday, today is the 3rd. This is posted on the 2nd of May. It says 1,422 days since announcement, only 193 days until launch. So as of today, that would be 192. It's coming. It still seems like a long time, but it should get here.
It's not that long when you think about it.
That's what I'm doing. I'm thinking about it. Well, pending the heat death of the universe hits us first, which probably isn't likely. But who knows? Stars, things like that, space happens. But then also they posted, it has now been, 1,422 days since the announcement, which is 4 years ago. 193 days until the launch, which is, again, 11/11/22. So 6 months and 9 days, or 8 days as of today. So just about half a year away. 42 days until the Xbox Bethesda Showcase. So that's 41 days from now, because that's on June 12th. So just over a month. I feel like that's going to come and go real fast. Now get this. These are where the numbers get really interesting. 3,328 days since Bethesda filed their trademark application. This was over 9 years ago that they started. Yeah, that they started like putting things in motion for this game. Where were you 9 years ago, Dave?
9 years ago. Let's see. What was I doing?
2013.
The PlayStation 4 had just come out.
Oh my God.
I had gotten the PlayStation 4, and I think the Xbox One came out as well.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This is 9 years is a long time. And then the last one here, over 5,887 days since Todd Howard put the idea of Starfield on paper. He started dreaming this up over 16 years ago, as far as we know. 16 years. That would have been like, what, 2006?
2006. Yeah. Wow. I would be, let's see, let me age myself. Would be 13 at that time.
Wow.
And okay. I would be, so 16, because I'm 29, so 16 years ago.
I was 27.
I would be writing space comics. That is also something I did when I was 13, about two characters named James and Dave with my buddy James. Cool. Really creative, cool. Deep role-playing characters in space. But
yeah, this was before Fallout 3. I believe at this time Oblivion was out. I was playing Oblivion. Elder Scrolls Oblivion. That's what.
And
I
that
was
a
doing
game changer.
Absolutely. But I don't know that I would have at that time had any concept of what we're about to experience with Starfield. So yeah, nope. Fun stuff to put out there. But Dave, let's talk about the music of Starfield. We had a new video that Bethesda put out, another one of these kind of behind the scenes videos. What are your impressions of this? We got to meet Mr. Einan Zur. Is that his name?
Einan Zur, yeah.
Einan Zur. I never know how to pronounce his name.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
He's been doing Bethesda music for Fallout 4, Fallout 76. I'm pretty sure he did Fallout 3 in New Vegas as well. Don't quote me on that. Jeremy Soule is the one who's done Elder Scrolls.
Right. And then he had some issues and they had to not work with him anymore. So we're not going to talk about that. But this Mr. Zur fellow seems much more above board. So we got to see Into the Starfield episode 3, The Sound of Adventure. And the thing that I thought was most notable about this, and these are quick little videos, they give us a little bit of taste of things. We've heard some of the music that's been released already, but the insight we got was from a conversation between him and another gentleman whose name I don't recall right now, who also was in charge of a lot of the sound and the sound design of the game. And they were discussing what he kind of goes through in the process of coming up with music for the game. And when he was discussing the theme music, he was talking about how the theme begins and then travels somewhere else and then returns to the original notes that they're used. The actual loop of the music is representative of what we're going to be doing in the game. We're going to be exploring space and then returning home. And I don't know if that gives us any real insight into the main storyline or anything. We're going to have to wait to find out about that. But the fact that that was kind of the inspiration there and the seed that grew the rest of this wonderful music is really cool to hear about.
I think it's interesting if you go back, and I've spent a lot of time writing and working to the music of Fallout 76 and Fallout 4. Some of the instrumentation that he uses, I think, is very interesting when he plays music for factions. Generally, if it's a faction-based storyline, he uses a particular instrument for that. A lot of nature scenes use like acoustic guitars. I know the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout, he uses kind of like orchestral tubas and trombones, like they are from this like
more royal
this power.
Yeah, powerful.
He uses a timpani for it. and like that's stuff I notice when I go to the movies or watching a TV show. It's like characters have themes, and then like when two characters are talking together, the themes kind of mash together. He uses that in his previous Fallout music, so I feel like that there's, as we'll play the game, there's going to be, I think, some hidden things that we're going to be able to discern based on the cues of the music and what that means in relationships of the characters and the factions.
Yeah, so that gets me thinking about, what do the raiders out in space sound like? What do different planets have themes? Do different cities that you visit have themes? How does that play into it? And I'm sure that he's thought through all of this because that's his job. But
Yep.
it makes it exciting to kind of think about that. Like, you're right, these are things that you notice when you pay attention to movies. But if you're not actively paying attention, they subconsciously draw you into the characters and the feeling of what's going on. Music is so wonderful in games because it really is that like direct connection to our emotions that really pulls our feelings out when we're watching or doing something. So I'm excited about it.
I'm curious in talking and listening to this video, how he's going to utilize motion. In a lot of shows, there's generally a things are moving theme. It seems like there's going to be a lot of movement in Starfield. You're going to move in Starfield. That's the big leak today.
You're going to be traveling in space. Surprise.
There's going to be a lot of that. And so in a lot of television shows, generally they'll attach a character theme to the movement theme so that both are kind of like this character is progressing, but also like you're physically progressing as well.
Right. So like a space travel theme, something like that we'll get.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I bet there's a lot of people out there who are going to do these comparisons to things like Star Wars and Star Trek and even the music of like Dune, which came out recently.
That's all we have.
Those are the only space shows we ever have.
No, but that's all we have from like our perspective of like analysis, because we haven't played the game yet and really haven't seen it, that much of the game already. And so like we have to go off of examples that we already have. Right.
But that's my point here is that's tough stuff to be compared to. When you're designing the music for something like Skyrim, then chances are people are going to be comparing you to a bunch of other video games. And that's kind of at a certain level, right? But doing something as epic as Starfield and the music for Starfield, and then drawing comparisons to some of the most, amazing space and sci-fi movies we've ever had, because games have progressed to that point where they're like playing a movie in a lot of cases. That's a lot to live up to. I'm sure there's got to be some pressure there.
Yeah, and I'm curious because like the music from Bethesda games kind of reverberates off of the genre that it's going. Like if you listen to literally any like D&D actual play podcast, they are going to play music from Skyrim. Like that is like a guarantee that they are going to play music from Skyrim. But post-apocalyptic like soundtracks and everything, and that whole vibe, like the soundscape of that, it has kind of like permeated out to anything that's like post-apocalyptic in that like similar style. That takes a lot from that. So I'm curious of where people have been before, what they're going to add to that mix, and how that's going to compare against a lot of these other properties. Yeah, well, it's clearly a big important thing because, as we know, they start with the music very early in the design of the world and the game and all of that. Just like you start with like early art sketches of what you want the world to look like and the places you go. The music is absolutely a core part of the experience, and you can tell that from their other titles, especially with how, epic and important the music is, how unforgettable. It really is a foundation for it. So this will be exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing more. But tell you what, why don't we move on to discuss the big leak that came out this last week? If you've been like in a hole somewhere, you haven't been paying attention to the internet, there was some news. A previous character artist for Bethesda decided to post publicly about some information, and more or less other people have confirmed that this person is legit. They seem like they say they are who they say they are. Also, I would lawyer up because I'm sure they were under NDA and they can't say certain things, and whoops. But
at least for our benefit, we get a little bit of insight in here. And so here, I'm going to read the thing. And Dave, tell me what you think about this after I read through it. So this was the post. This is the key information of what the post says. They wrote, "It was cool, solid place to work, very secure." And then they talk about the engine, the game engine. "The engine is a piece of crap, though." Which we know that they've been updating the engine, and that can mean all sorts of things, but I'll move on. "Todd is a charismatic guy for sure. Starfield is looking good. Weekly Thursday playtests since the beginning of the year. More and more stuff coming online. Shooting feels all right. Flying is terrible at the moment, just not fun to me. Lighting and stuff is looking better and better, though it's not on the level of HFW, which I believe is Horizon... The
Forbidden
West, the new Horizon game, right? And anything like that, but still a good-looking game. In terms of it, if it will ship on time, well, they will try for sure. They cut what they did to, etc. They have an overabundance of content, probably too much, so that's not the issue. Finding the fun and, of course, bug fixing is the big thing. It's a sexy date, though, and you only get one of those, meaning 11/11/22. Beta is this summer. That's when the picture will truly become clear." So let's pull this apart because there's definitely things to discuss here. So first of all, the engine is a piece of crap. What do you think about that?
I think that is this post is laden with opinion as well as it seems like details.
Yes.
I think that the engine is not as clean as a lot of other, like the Creation Engine 1. I have no idea what Creation Engine 2 looks like. It's not as clean as others, but if I know Todd Howard and I know what like Todd Howard is revered for in the gaming industry, it's building systems. They're going to be creating an engine that can handle more systems. That's the whole reason I think you do a second engine is because your first one cannot handle the amount of systems that you're trying to put into a game. And the modern things that current consoles and PCs can do. Yeah. You want to upgrade for 4K,
all that stuff as well.
60 FPS, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I think that you're gonna there's gonna be bugs in a Bethesda game.
Of course. I mean, all the systems run into each other, and wacky stuff is going to happen. That's just kind of how it goes. Also, we have to remember the source of the information. This person is a character artist. This person is not a coder, a programmer, somebody working on the engine itself. So what they might be seeing from their side of the office, quote unquote, is stuff that affects their designing of characters in an engine that is continually being upgraded and updated. So, of course, over the years while working, it's like trying to upgrade your car while also driving it at the same time. It's going to be a bumpy ride, right? Like at some point you have to pull the tires off. How does that work? So I think that we have to kind of take this with a grain of salt in order to just be like, well, we'll see once it launches what that actually means.
Right. And what is engine being a piece of crap means? Like does that mean bad in terms of accessibility, bad in terms of performance, bad in comparison to the last engine, bad? It seems like that they're holding other games in regard from their reference to Horizon. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. It seems like that there's going to be shooting. You're going to shoot something.
Well, imagine
if you listen to previous episodes of Starfield Lorecast, we identified the gun that was on the table in the teaser trailer. But I didn't want to talk about this flying being terrible at the moment. Space flight is so different based on what universe you're living in, what kind of ship you're doing, and that like Rogue Squadron 2 is a Star Wars game where you fly an X-Wing. That's one of the best like space flight games I've played, but that is like you're a jet.
You can turn on a dime too.
Right. Like you turn on a dime. Like you were in a fighter pilot, like you were going fast. It's like really arcadey and you're with it. Yeah.
It's not the Expanse where you have like, hundreds of, meters per second of momentum and all of a sudden you have to change directions. So flying is terrible. Does that mean it's like, and this, I think this is where you're going, right? Does it mean if that's actually playing of the game part? Is it the engine part that's terrible? Is flying just difficult and now they're trying to dial it in?
It's hard to say because we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen anything take off the ground. They say it's in space. We have not seen a ship fly.
We haven't really, we haven't seen much in-game anything. We know that the cinematic stuff was done with in-game elements, but we haven't actually seen gameplay. So, and that's what this specific line has everybody all hyped about, is the big question of, are we going to be manually flying things in space, or will we be, and we've talked about this previously too, will we just be like traveling from one planet to another, a la like Mass Effect? Do you just choose
KOTOR,
the planet to go to, KOTOR, and then you just go to the planet? Or is it actually moving through space from one place to another? Like, and if you are doing that, the scope of that seems wide open. Like, that's a lot bigger. Now we're talking like many other games that deal with that, who like, I don't know. There's a lot to say there.
There's only one. I forgot what the name. It had Star Fox, and it was on the Nintendo Switch. And essentially, like, you were the fighter pilot, and you had various planets in the solar system, and it was 3D. And so you could like be on the planet, fly around like you would in a normal like dogfighting game, but you could also like hyperspace yourself up into space,
like the gummy ship in
kind of
that Mickey Mouse
Kingdom Hearts
fantasy game.
Yeah. I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan. I'll wear that on my sleeve.
I hope this isn't the gummy ship.
We're just flying gummy ships. No, I'm just kidding. But
think
it seems like you are manually flying something.
Yeah, I think this is going to be more like Elite Dangerous, at least with it saying that this is kind of what's going. I have a sense that you probably land and dock, you get back up, you make it off a planet, and then you choose another place to go, and you engage some sort of hyperdrive. And then you get close to the next planet, and then you manually land on the planet again.
Yeah. I think that's probably the idea. Like No Man's Sky, another game kind of like that, where the flying is very similar. Right.
Yeah, I think maybe we're in that range. Now, let's talk about the lighting and stuff. It's looking better and better, though it's not on the level of Horizon. Well, so first of all, every time Sony puts out a first party title on their newest hardware, they absolutely lean into everything that they can eke out of that system. And
if you want an example of this outside of even the popular stuff, go look at Killzone Mercenary, which is not a good game. It is not a great game at all.
Red glowing eye bad guys that look like Nazis.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. If you look at that when it released, it was one of the release games on PlayStation 4. It's still the best looking shooter I've played. It just looks awesome. And it is not that great, but it looks looks good. Cool.
Yeah.
I think a great example now is Elden Ring, of a game that is graphically like on par with
it's good
modern AAA stuff, but it is not. I think the level of detail that you would get from a Horizon. I'm trying to think of other big
God of War,
like
even when God of War came out for the last generation, like they obviously pushed the envelope. That game still looks amazing and would look good on a new current gen system. But that's the thing, is that's not a fair comparison, because Horizon is designed for one console and can lean into all that console has. This is a game that's designed in an engine that's supposed to work on everything. And like you said, Elden Ring, you can play on everything. The graphics aren't as high of a level, but it doesn't matter, because if the game is freaking awesome, then I would rather be doing awesome freaking stuff in a game that's slightly less graphically interesting than something that and I haven't played the new Horizon. I like the old one. I haven't played the new one. This isn't a commentary on that being good or not. But
it's fine.
If you have to pick one or the other, if you have to give something up because you're launching something across multiple consoles, Xbox and PC, and then wherever else they decide to put this in the future, your toaster, this will be the next Skyrim, right?
Yes. Then on your TV fridge and your Ring doorbell.
Yeah. Then there's some balance there. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. And it to me, like, graphics matter in a fidelity of am I able to immerse myself? Like Skyrim still looks good. If you just like play
Oh, yeah.
Skyrim, like the vistas in that still look great. But Breath of the Wild, one of the best games of this millennia, is a really simple game. Like it looks very simple. Everything is very like cartoony and kind of
Cell
not
shaded.
necessarily
Yeah.
low poly, but like that cell shaded style.
Right.
And that's one of the best games ever. So I think people get confused, or I get like confused as far as like a quality game being like really graphically impressive as opposed to just like a good, like great game.
Yeah. So yeah, two thoughts on that. One, there's kind of a minimum standard that you have to hit for it to feel like, okay, it's a modern game, right? And two, the art design is always more important than the fidelity of the graphics, because a game with awesome art design will look good forever, whereas a game that just pushes the envelope on graphics, if they neglect the art design of the world, will eventually look like garbage as we move on. So that's my 2 cents on that. Now they also mentioned that there's an overabundance of content, probably too much. So that's not the issue. It's just finding fun and, of course, bug fixing. So first of all, obviously they're fixing bugs. That's what you do. The ramp up to launch on any game. You polish the crap out of it, right? You try and get rid of as many bugs as you can. So yes, clearly that's a thing. Finding the fun, that sounds like another polish thing, right? Let's make the gunplay feel as good as possible. Let's make the gameplay loop work as well as possible, because they're no longer designing the world. They're no longer writing the stories. They're just dialing in the settings, the stuff that makes you go, man, this game feels awesome. I want to keep doing it. So that makes sense to me as well. And the fact that they have an overabundance of content totally makes sense, because if they're going to be releasing this game, they're going to be following up with DLCs, with, some sort of expansions. And the game is as big as it seems like it's going to be. And they're expecting this to be the game that carries, or a game that carries on for at least another decade, with people modding it and continuing to play it. I mean, we still go back and play Fallout 3, like that's still a game that people are going back and playing today. And this game's probably going to have way more content than what's in Fallout 3. So all of that sounds actually expected to me. I don't think there's a surprise in that sentence.
I think one thing that the gaming, and I say this like the gaming community, I think a lot of people that are in game development are looking for smaller niche focused experiences. Like God of War is another example. It's like, that is like, you're on a path, you are doing your thing. It is like focused on just these things, and you're just doing this. So you're like really on the two characters in that game, where this is a different like ball game. You don't get a lot of games like these that are these huge, like Bethesda makes expansive games, huge worlds. Like they are in the business of world building. They're not in the business of like super duper like hardcore narrative driven experience. There's a narrative there, there's stuff there, but it's more about, okay, here's the tools, here's the narrative that we've set up for you, and go find your fun, like go do your thing. Right. And I think when they're looking at, they're looking at finding the fun and bug fixing, I think to me that says that there is fun there. They're just figuring out a way to like get players like access to that fun and making them be like, oh yeah, that's fun, which I think was one of the main problems with Fallout 76 on launch, was there was fun stuff there to do. Right. It was just impossible to like figure that out if you weren't like really like digging into it.
Where's the game balance? Where's the, is it possible to find better, cool, unique items in a pace that actually makes sense for how fast you're leveling through the game? Are you getting cool abilities? Are you upgrading your ship? Are you doing all of that stuff? Is it happening in a pace and an order that creates that loop? This is the reason why Skyrim is so enjoyable today, is that the gameplay loop on a micro to a macro level is so well done. From a micro level of just, here's a cave, I'm going to explore it, get through the cave, fight things, find what's in the cave, get out. Now I have slightly better gear. I've got a little bit more knowledge about the world. Maybe I found something that ties to some other quest that I've been doing. And then now that bigger loop plays into it. And now you're connecting back to the bigger loop of the quests and the other things going on. The way all of that ties together happens at a pace that is, and with the re-release of Skyrim again, this is going back a few months ago, it's something that I was very much reminded of jumping back into that game, is that's what's so appealing. I mean, it's an awesome world. There's all sorts of cool stuff. Elder Scrolls is great. But from a gameplay perspective, that loop is so good. It's so well done. And when you haven't done it for a while and you go back and do it again, you go, oh my God, yeah, no, they really nailed this gameplay loop. So I think that's probably what he's talking about here. Or they are talking, I'm assuming it's a male, but it might not be what they're talking about here.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So, well, it looks like we'll be getting a beta this summer. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's a limited time beta. Maybe you only get through so much.
I don't know about that terminology, because that could mean it goes into beta phase this summer for internal use.
Yeah.
Generally for single player stuff, like you're not going to put out a public unless you're doing like Fallout 76 had the public test server,
right?
Which I don't think played well. I don't think that played well in their marketing for them because it was a little rough. And I think that it'll be in beta phase probably this summer, and it'll just be like, here's the game, let's
play the crap out of it and dial it in. Yeah.
Yep.
So that sounds about right. But otherwise, I'm not too surprised by this. I think the big news is the flying, that we're going to do a little bit more actual hands-on flying, which is cool. We are finally getting vehicles in a Bethesda game that you're actually piloting around. Seems like a cool idea.
Do you think that they'll have some hands-on stuff when they do the big showcase? Do you think that there'll be anything hands-on that people could play? Well, because their big thing that Microsoft is touting, because it's not just, I have to remind myself, it's not just a Bethesda thing anymore. It's a Microsoft and Bethesda thing. And this is Microsoft's big flagship now, like, you know, big flagship spaceship. So
Yes.
like, are they going to be, I know that you can do, if they did it from like the cloud, like that would be easy for people from like a remote event. Like, I'm curious if they're going to have it in a playable state where they could have people play a portion of it.
I don't know. It takes a lot of time away from other development to set those kinds of things up. So I bet it's a decision based on resources available. I also think that they know that people are going to try this game out based on the hype and the expectations they have from other games that Bethesda has done, that they don't need to really push the marketing that hard. Other than just letting people know that, hey, this is available, it's going to be awesome, here's what's in it. Right. Actually giving people hands-on, it might be better from a marketing standpoint to not do that, so people still have questions, because they can't wait to get a hands-on when it actually is released.
That's true, because with Game Pass they don't need buy-in, like from a cost from a $60 cost perspective. Like, you can just like get if you've never played it before, you can get like a free trial of Game Pass and try it out on your phone. Like, you got possibly a controller. Like,
if it comes out on Game Pass day one, I don't know if it'll be out on Game Pass day one.
I'm curious if it will be or not. I think it's going to be day one on Game Pass, but I am not sure.
Yeah. I don't know that we know for sure. I don't think that they've stated for sure. There's a lot of speculation around it,
and they may have, and maybe we're just dumb and have forgotten about the things, because frankly, they've been talking about this for several years of our life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. A lot of times, I mean, a game this big, you would expect that they want to actually drive sales first and then put it on Game Pass once the sales drop to a certain level. That's what I would expect from a marketing standpoint, but that doesn't mean that that's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but we got some other news. Actually, we got some fun speculation here. There's another post on Reddit today that actually 23 hours ago, according to right now, so yesterday basically, and Chapman Prime raised the question about. And just posts here. Has anyone talked about how ships are potentially segmented and could detach a smaller module designed to enter and explore a planet's atmosphere? And included some pictures, some of the ships that we've seen, but specifically with like the nose portion of the ship circled, because it looks like it might be a detachable piece that comes off the front of the ship. So the idea here would be you have a home ship that stays in orbit. so the whole thing doesn't have to come down to the surface. And then you have a detachable kind of landing smaller ship that you would fly down and land and then fly back up to your main ship. And
I think logistically that's a really good, it's a good job, Chapman Prime. I'm pointing that out. I think that makes a lot of sense from like how Bethesda wants to do this, because if you could just fly your ship, you could just land on whatever planet. Like you could feasibly just pop into the atmosphere and be like, I'm landing on this like little, here's an island, I'm just going to land on it, as opposed to like, hey, we're going to like, you're at the planet now, why don't you detach, go dock, and then it loads the area for the planet.
Right. And when you look at the images, the ships when they're in space look very large compared to the size of the ships that we see on the surface of planets. They look like there might be landing size ships that come down. And when you think about it from a gameplay perspective, let's say maybe this has a Mass Effect kind of companion system where you're not just finding one person, like Lydia is going to carry our burdens and she's the one who just follows us around. It's me and Lydia and our little robot buddy, like what if the other people you meet end up able to come with you and be part of your party at large, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the ship is large enough to have placement for each of them. Everybody can hang out in the main ship, but then when you decide to head down to the surface, you pick one or two companions that come with you in a smaller craft. And I mean, it's been done before in other games. It totally would make sense. Plus, you'd be able to go back up to the main ship, have conversations with everybody else on board, and continue the game from there.
I mean, what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I really hadn't considered it, of having, like you want to have a home base, like most big RPGs, even like classic stuff, like you have your space. In Fallout 4, it was your settlement. You typically picked a main settlement. I think most people picked a main settlement.
Right.
It was like, this is my, like everywhere else I'm kind of managing, but this one is my place. Similar to like the house update in Skyrim, where you're like, okay, this is my space. I'm gonna work with it and kind of improve it.
So you're saying that the main ship is going to be like your settlement.
I think so.
And you'll be able to
likely
add other little components to it, little docking pods, extra little things, build it out as you go. But the people you meet who you would bring back to your settlement in something like Fallout 4 now live on your ship.
I really like the Star Trek vibe you're going for. It's like a modular Star Trek. And I am here for that.
Yeah, but it totally makes sense, especially if you're going to be, exploring the galaxy, to have more than just you and one companion.
Mm-hmm.
You would want a team of people who are there to help support each other and maintain everything. Otherwise, can two people take care of themselves well enough? I mean, yeah, in a fun space opera like, Star Wars, you just, Mando just flies around by himself, or whatever. But ultimately, in something that's more realistic, which they've been shooting for, you would need people on board to manage the engineering, to manage the growing of crops and things on the ship so that it feeds everybody. Like there would be different things everyone does so that, say, the commander of the ship and the offboarding team is able to go do the things they're doing while everyone else maintains the base and is there to help people when they need medical or whatever.
Yeah, and they've talked about even the robot being able to go out on ground missions, defend itself, and even like fly the ship for you if you need. Like if you're like, hey, I want to go to this place, but I want to go do these certain things on my ship, it'll just say, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go fly the ship for you.
Yeah. So I think Chapman Prime is onto something. This is a really cool post. If you guys want to go check it out, it's on Reddit. It's on the Starfield subreddit. It currently has 336 upvotes. I'm giving it another upvote, or at least one. Right there, upvote. Got my upvote. So that's exciting news. In chat, we have some of our community here with us. Let's see. We did get a confirmation. Gaming Channels in chat says, yes, day one on Game Pass. So it was actually confirmed. And I think Dave's right. There's been so much news since then that who knows what that... I'm like, what does that even actually mean? But
eventually we're going to pick up the pieces and it's all going to come together. And that is the true Starfield game we will play.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, Good at Game says sort of how a freighter acts in No Man's Sky, but with a crew. Really dig that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
you
this could
can
be
kind of
cool.
make your own freighter, and you have certain modules that you can build. It's not that expansive since it's a sandbox game, but for an RPG system, I think that would be really cool to see Starfield do that.
Right. Elamin B2 writes and says, "Can I buy more ships?" My guess is that your ship is your home base and you customize it, and there's no need to buy a different ship. You just change the way your ship looks. That's my guess. But
Like ship
what do you
Theseus
think?
style.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
when you deconstruct it entirely and put all new parts on it, it's
Right.
still technically the same ship, but it looks
Right.
wildly different.
Or like the Mechanist expansion for Fallout 4, where you can take any of your robot friends and you swap enough body parts, and now they're a completely different robot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that we will be buying wholesale ships so much as components that swap for different parts. Like, I want these engines now. I want this main hangar bay. I want, this docking section of the ship. And you can probably swap out those individual parts and then maybe even change the way like the paint looks on the outside, or and kind of customize it a little bit. I think we're probably going to get something that's a little bit more Fallout 4 Mechanist style.
I like that. I like that idea.
So again, speculation. This is hard speculation.
Star facts right here.
Star facts right here. Do I even have that on here anymore?
On the night of June.
Nope, not that one.
Welcome to the cult of astrology.
Well, there we go. Some of the old sound effects.
Good. Close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades.
Close enough. But that's any other thoughts on this? Because I think that's all we've got for this episode.
I think this is all really interesting, and it's kind of giving us a preview. I really like these focused episodes that Bethesda's putting out on their main channel. I think those are really interesting. I'm excited to pour through all the stuff at the showcase. I think that's going to be hours and hours and hours of stuff to talk about. And
yeah,
just really excited.
Yeah. So that, again, just a reminder, that's June 12th. So it's coming up in a few weeks. Dave and I are, as of right now, going to do the best we can to live stream that, either one or both of us at the same time, whoever's available. If we can, you never know when life gets in the way. You never know.
When life gets in the way, you hit it with a bat.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that, and then we'll be following up that live stream, commenting on what's going on later on. And of course, you can join us on the Robots Radio channels. Those are on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. I restream on everything right now. So just pick the platform you like. Come watch us for that in the future. We're going to be trying to do as many of these episodes as we can from this point on. If there's news to talk about, we're going to plan an episode. So you might get weekly episodes, bi-weekly episodes, and we're just going to keep to that until we actually get legitimate game in hand stuff to talk about. And we were talking about this earlier before we started the stream. When this game launches in November, the show is going to switch to a very much more lore focused show. We're still going to talk news and stuff when that stuff comes in, but we want to dig into the depths of this game. Dave and I are going to be playing the crap out of it. We're going to bring you all of the details about the planets, the characters, the factions, all of that stuff. So definitely stay tuned for that. And any of the things hiding in the universe that kind of Bethesda likes to draw connections between stuff. And sometimes it takes a little bit of digging to find all that stuff. So we'll be talking about that stuff as well.
Someday we'll find it. The Rainbow Connection.
The Rainbow Connection. So stay tuned for that stuff. We're glad you guys are here. One last question. Good at Game says, is there a Patreon for the Starfield Lorecast? There isn't yet. But once this show becomes more regular, Dave and I will talk about launching a Patreon and some of the fun things that we can do for the community who wants to support the show. I've done t-shirts for a lot of my other shows, and those always go over really well. And so we'll see. We'd love to give you guys stuff to help support us, because this is my full-time job, podcasting, and Dave does this on the side, but making a little bit of extra income in order to keep this going never hurts. So, but thanks everybody for being here. Dave, do you have anything else you want to share before we head out?
Yeah, I have one of my other projects is I do a Fallout tabletop role-playing podcast where it's an actual play, and we're playing the official Fallout tabletop game. It is set in New Orleans and has a number of different characters. We're finishing up our first arc here in a little bit. I think right now is episode 14 just came out, which is all about a guy making a Brotherhood of Steel person very angry by saying that he pees in power armor, which is a lore piece that actually happens.
You can.
And then stealing that power armor.
Oh.
So for more antics like that in a tabletop role-playing setting, go to Rad Rolls. It's on all your podcast services.
Rad Rolls. You go find that. You can find all my shows, all the different lore casts, Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Mass Effect and Cyberpunk and The Witcher on robotsradio.net, all the other shows on the network. And if you are interested in launching your own podcast, we'd love to have you join us. So the Robots Radio Rocket Club is the place where you can join me and a bunch of our other podcasts. And I'm there to help guide you in launching a show and then reaching your goals and trying to get you the best start you could possibly be at for your own podcast, or who knows, revising your existing podcast and helping you out with that as well. So all that stuff over at robotsradio.net. We'll be back hopefully in the next week or two with some more news. We're just waiting to see what else comes out. And that's what we got going on. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this show.
Did you know that parodies are copyright protected?
Tell a friend and review
On iTunes.
or other services.
Dave and Tom excited for Starfield. Let's all speculate and wear no shoes.
Hey, why aren't we wearing any shoes?
Because shoes rhymes with iTunes, and that's the best I could think of.
We totally need to update our music.
Maybe I'll do. That ending is just so funny.
It is pretty funny. Yeah, once we get to actual like release date
Stuff.
we'll probably
we'll update it, make it tighter.
we'll be a little bit more serious about stuff.
It's been on my
Yeah, Dave made it.
It's
Dave,
been on my to-do of like sometime I'm gonna get around to this.
yeah, Dave made
Just haven't.
the music. That's all Dave. Yeah. It's so funny. Well, guys, thanks for being here. My wife is texting me about what we're doing for dinner and stuff, so
Get to it.
gotta go figure that out. So
All right.
thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys
Thanks,
next
buddy.
time.
See you guys.